All right, let's talk about emotional intelligence. You might have heard it called EQ. We're going to dive into why this other kind of smart might be just as important, maybe even more important, than your IQ when it comes to your career, your relationships, and yeah, your overall happiness. So here's what we've got lined up. We're going to start with a really simple question that actually kicked off this whole movement. Then we'll nail down exactly what EQ is. We'll look at why it matters so much right now, what it looks like in the real world, and, this is the best part, how you can build your own. And we'll wrap up with a pretty big challenge. Okay, so let's get right into the story of how this whole idea came to be. Because it didn't start in some sterile lab. Nope. It actually started with a paintbrush and a pretty big puzzle. So this was the exact question two psychology professors, Peter Salovey and John Mayer, asked themselves one summer day. Picture this. They're painting a house, just chatting about politics, and they got stuck on this one politician who was obviously brilliant, but just kept making these terrible, self-sabotaging decisions. And you know what? That one conversation led them to this really powerful conclusion. It wasn't that the politician lacked brains. He lacked a totally different kind of intelligence. That single insight basically kickstarted a whole new field of study and brought the idea of emotional intelligence to the rest of the world. Okay, so what is this emotional intelligence that Salovey and Mayer were talking about? Let's get a really clear definition on the table. Now, this is key. It's not about stuffing your emotions down or pretending you don't have them. It's about understanding them, in yourself and in other people, and then using that understanding to guide how you think and act. It's the skill of making your emotions work for you, not against you. And what I love about this is how these four skills just build on each other, right? It all starts with you, with self-awareness, just knowing what you're feeling and why. Once you have that, you can move to self-management, which is about not letting your impulses run the show. Then, once you can handle yourself, you can develop social awareness. That's the ability to tune in and read what's going on with other people. And all of that leads to the final step, relationship management, using all that insight to build really strong, positive connections. And this, right here, just lays out the difference perfectly. Think of it like this. Your IQ is your raw cognitive horsepower. It's your ability to learn and reason. Your EQ, well, that's how well you drive the car. You absolutely need both. But for way too long, we only ever really focused on one of them. Okay, so let's get practical. How does this actually show up in our lives? Because let me tell you, the benefits are pretty staggering. Okay, look at this number. $29,000. According to a big study by TalentSmart, that's how much more, on average, people with high emotional intelligence make every single year compared to people with low EQ. Yeah, turns out being able to manage your emotions and relationships, it literally pays off. And hey, it's not just about your personal paycheck. Companies that actually invest in this stuff see massive returns. A Motorola plant saw a 93% productivity boost. Sheraton Hotels boosted their market share by 24%. The U.S. Air Force saved almost $3 million just by using EQ to find the right recruits. I mean, the business case here is just undeniable. But okay, forget work and money for a second. At its core, having a higher EQ is fundamentally tied to better mental health. Study after study shows that people who can understand and manage their emotions have less stress, they're better protected from things like anxiety and depression, and they build those strong social networks that, let's be honest, we all need to feel okay. So we know what it is, we know why it's a big deal, but what does high EQ actually look like day to day? Well, it's usually in these small, subtle actions that a lot of us might not even notice. Okay, take this classic sign, for instance. Someone with high IQ just gets it. You praise people in front of everyone to build them up, but you handle criticism with care and in private to maintain trust. It's all about knowing the right context for your words. Which brings me to this absolute game changer. You know how it is, right? So many of us, we're not really listening, we're just waiting for our turn to talk, already planning our comeback. An emotionally intelligent person actively fights that impulse. They're trying to genuinely grasp the feeling behind the words. And to do that, you need this critical ability, the pause. That tiny little space between something happening and you reacting, that's where all the magic of emotional intelligence happens. That one little beat can be the difference between a thoughtful response and saying something you'll regret 5 minutes later. And it's all powered by this one huge realization.
High EQ people have this resilience because they understand that when someone lashes out or is being difficult, it's often a reflection of what's going on inside them. It's probably not even about you. And when you realize that, it changes everything. And here's the best part, really. The most empowering thing about all this. Unlike your IQ, which is pretty much set for life, emotional intelligence is not some fixed trait you're born with. It's a skill, and that means it's something you can learn, practice, and get better at.
So, can you actually get better at this stuff? Well, the answer from researchers all over the world is a huge, resounding yes. You are not stuck with the EQ you have today. You can actively work to strengthen it, starting right now. All right, so how do you start? Here's a simple, practical toolkit to get you going. First up, learn to hit the brakes on stress in the moment. Because when you're totally overwhelmed, your rational brain just checks out. Find something that works for you, like taking a couple of deep breaths to ground yourself. Step 2, connect with your emotions through mindfulness. And that sounds complicated, but it just means paying attention to what you're feeling without judging it. Just asking, what am I really feeling right now? And finally, once you're more in tune with yourself, you can turn your focus outward. Use your social awareness to read nonverbal cues, the tone of voice, the eye contact, the body language. These 3 things practiced over time are the bedrock of a higher EQ. Okay, for our last point, let's zoom way out. Let's look at the biggest idea behind this whole concept, because it's about so much more than just you and me getting ahead. Daniel Goleman, he's the guy who really brought this idea to the masses with his book, and he argues that the ultimate goal here isn't just personal gain. His big challenge to all of us is to take these skills, empathy, self-control, social awareness, and aim them at the world's biggest, toughest problems. So, at the end of the day, here's the real takeaway. Emotional intelligence isn't just a self-help tool for getting a promotion. It's a fundamental skill for creating a more compassionate, more collaborative, and, frankly, a more effective world. It's the other kind of smart, and it might just be the one we need most right now. So the real question isn't just if you'll build your EQ, but what problem will you solve with it?